We will not be deterred. We are, as South Africans, a resilient people, and we will not be bullied.
Tonight I think of my home, the home where I was born. It couldn't be said any better. Yep, we cannot be bullied. And I hope people listening to the president of South Africa say we cannot be bullied, understand the symbolism of that statement as it relates to the entire continent of Africa. How many of us are willing to boycott PayPal? Because now you see not just a South African connection, but a racist South African connection to PayPal. 4 key partners in PayPal, including Elon Musk, grew up in South Africa and would rather have the apartheid policies in South Africa than what exists today. And they're hateful about blacks having freedom or leadership roles in South Africa. And now they're in a marriage with a man in America who is hateful about blacks having opportunities, minorities, period. Blacks, browns, Asians having the same opportunities as the chosen ones in America have. It's time to wake up. That you work in corporate America and have white friends that you wine and dine with. I do too. You got to know where you're coming from and understand where you're trying to go. There's nothing wrong with white people. Without white people, Martin Luther King wouldn't have succeeded. Without white people, a lot of the things we gained in America, we wouldn't have gained. So I'm not bashing white people. I'm bashing racist white people. Just like when I go to Nigeria and bash people from a certain tribe, I'm not bashing those people. I'm bashing the bigots from that tribe. Think about South Africa in particular. Then we'll go to the Gaza Strip. Think about Elon Musk's connection to South Africa. Think about 3 of Elon Musk's partners at PayPal, who are all directly connected to South Africa, either born there or moved there as kids. And then you'll understand the agenda that they have, and they have the perfect person to execute it for them, because he's the only world leader that I know, probably that you know, that is completely uncensored in what comes out of his mouth. As an older person that age, I've never found an old person more shameful in the kind of words they are willing to let go just to impress the people around them. But I really think that these next 2 years or 4 years, depending on what happens in the midterm elections coming up in 2 years, these 2 years or 4 years will not only teach Donald Trump that America has laws, but it will also teach any MAGA person that thought that Trump was setting the tone for them to understand, like Igbos will say, meaning you're not getting anywhere fast, walking backwards.
Who are the PayPal Mafia, and how are they linked to apartheid-era South Africa?
Well, they're a group of men who are at the top, the founding of PayPal, all of whom in some way or other grew up in South Africa as children. You've got Musk himself, who was born in South Africa and lived there, went to high school there until he was 18. Musk's grandfather, Canadian grandfather, had been the head of the Canadian branch of a political movement in the 1930s called Technocracy Incorporated, which in essence wanted to scrap democracy in the United States and Canada and have technocrats rule the country, which might sound familiar. That becomes a de facto fascist party, is banned during the Second World War, and then the grandfather moves to apartheid South Africa, having had no connection to the place, in 1950 because he likes the sound of apartheid. And even Errol Musk says of the grandfather, he was an open neo-Nazi. You got Peter Thiel, who was a co-founder with Musk of PayPal. Thiel was born in Germany, but brought to South Africa as a young child. His father was a mining engineer, lived in Johannesburg, and then moved to Southwest Africa, which was then a South African colony, is now Namibia. And he went to school in Swakopmund, which was notorious as probably the last place on the planet where people still openly greeted each other with Heil Hitler and celebrated Hitler's birthday. He went to a German school there before moving to the United States when he was 10 or 11. You've got David Sachs, who was born in Cape Town. He's big in PayPal and is now Trump's AI and crypto czar. He moved to Tennessee as a relatively young child, but grew up in the white South African diaspora there. And you've got Roelof Botha, the grandson of Pik Botha, the last foreign minister of apartheid South Africa. He was the acceptable face of apartheid. You'll remember he used to run around the United States trying to put a gloss on how they were reforming things and that everything was getting better. So you see those four key people at the top of PayPal, and they all have this, very intimate connection to South Africa.
Are we learning? Folks, these things don't just fall out of the sky. These plans don't happen overnight. These atrocities don't just happen overnight. They are plotted, they are deliberate, and it's usually a long-term plan that gradually comes to fruition while the victims are sleeping, not knowing the plots that are going on. We all hop on PayPal. We are very excited to transfer money and do transactions with PayPal. There comes a time when we also have to take a step back and think, what leverage do we have? I'm not saying we should give up something when we have no leverage. But the problem is that as Africans, as Black people across the world, we don't just have leverage, we have mega leverage. Are we willing to explore our leverage and benefit from the resources that's abundant in Africa? Listen to this man put it in a way that I couldn't even dream of putting.
The United States believes that it can sanction South Africa into submission. They believe that they can dictate your policies. They believe that they can bully you into compliance. But in my opinion, they have miscalculated, and they have miscalculated badly. They believe that they hold all the power, but that's a lie. South Africa is not weak. And you shouldn't act like you are. You control critical minerals, resources without which their industries, their military, their so-called green energy transition, all of that will stall. If they want economic warfare, then let them know that without South Africa, their technological and military ambitions collapse. This isn't just empty rhetoric. This is reality. And sometimes you need to be told what reality is. What about South Africa's ports? I mean, do they think that the global trade routes that they depend on are untouchable, America? South Africa holds the key to vital shipping lanes. South Africa is a gateway to global trade. If America attempts to cripple you in South Africa, you remind them that you can disrupt their supply chains, you can forge new alliances throughout BRICS and throughout Africa, and you can make them feel the consequences of their aggression. Yes, you can. And to anyone in South Africa who says that you need their markets, you need their investments, and so on, dependency is a choice in 2025. You don't have to be shackled to that system, a system that was only ever designed to keep you weak. You have alternative partners today. You have natural wealth, alhamdulillah. You have the strength and you have the position to dictate your own economic future. Yes, you do. I'm telling you that this is America shooting in the air while they are retreating. If you stand up to them, they will stand down. Obviously, American sanctions aren't about justice, they're about control. That's always been the case. Their aid is not generosity, it's leverage, always. They make that very clear. Their partnerships are not built on respect, they are built on the expectation that you will always remain subordinate. They think that you're going to sit back and let them try to cripple you, but I think you should prove them wrong. If they sanction your industries, nationalize theirs. If they try to isolate you, then you lead the charge in de-dollarization. If they try to break you, then forge stronger bonds with those who share your vision in the global south. This is radical realism. This is not idealism. This is not emotionalism. It's the simple, inescapable truth of power. The truth of power is that it must be met with power. So I would say to the people of South Africa, enough is enough. The time of compromise is over for everyone in the global south. The time for action has come.
The time for action has come. Dependency is a choice in 2025. I'd like to know how many people watching this who disagree with those two statements and many more statements that he made. The reality is that Trump is leading America to America's demise because Trump is hastening the day that third world countries that have been sleeping for 100 years or more are starting to awaken. And it comes a time when you push a kid so far that the kid will rather take death than live in that extent of oppression. That time, I think, has come for Africa. That time also, I think, has come for Arab countries, especially the ones in Gaza. I want you to read. I'm not going to read it. You do the reading, but I'll scroll it very slowly so even slow readers can read. Oh, by the way, note that I introduced the letter with a preface of some images of what Donald Trump's Gaza resort that he's trying to build with Elon Musk without consent of the people of Gaza. I'm just sarcastically showing you what Trump's Gaza resort will look like. And then I'll take you into the letters. And I'll give you very subtle music in the background. Read this very, very personal, irate letter that an Arab wrote to Donald Trump. It's an open letter. I took time to research and be sure that it's authentic. I saw the letter on the Twitter page of the person who wrote it. So this is not fake news. This is real. But read it slowly. It's sarcasm, it's harsh, and he gave it to Trump.
sophistication. We had no timepiece, the cockcrow and the sun, all we had. Rise early at sunup, we'd go to the farms, drive the monkeys away from the maize farms, and the birds away from the rice farms. Come back home at sundown, sometimes a little later. Women get busy on pounded yam, and we all eat together.
Before the elections and after the elections, everybody was so concerned what Donald Trump is going to do. Yep, I know the detractors are going to say it's only 24 days in. 24 days in is a good manuscript to have an idea where we're going. Basically, America has laws. Regardless of how ruthless Donald Trump wants to be, he's not the first. Ultimately, there's going to be checks and balances. That's already happening in America. You've seen the slew of cases that went to court and the slew of cases that judges came out and put an injunction and put a hold. That's how it is in America. But what this episode is more about is actually the third world. The normal brainwash that America has carried on around the world, their aid that they give to the world, they don't give any aid. Everything America gives is based on what America wants to take. The world is waking up to all that. It would have been more gradual because, as that letter said, more or less explain the difference between the Hillary Clinton type American and the Donald Trump type American. And what that letter was basically saying is they're all the same. They give you the same poison. It's a matter of how fast is the poison going to kill you. In the past, they even gave you a choice. You want to die fast or you want to die slowly. Now the third world is catching up and saying, we want to all die at the same time. And if we don't die, we're going to bring you down to where everybody should be. We don't want to hurt you, but we're tired of you hurting us. That's what the New World Order is going to be. Once again, this is Fred Nwanko coming to you from our studios in Chicago with another edition of Bull Talk on Island TV. And as usual, I want to say good night and God bless.
Tonight I think of my home, the home where I was born. I think of my family and the poor farmhouse we had. There in my home, we had no sophistication. We had no time bees away from the maize farms, and the birds away from the rice farms. Come back home at sundown, sometimes a little later.